What's up everyone, it's Bones here. In today's video, I'll be featuring a deck that I've drawn inspiration from throughout different parts of the internet, and we'll be starting this one with our new version of Diagram plus Baby, and really any of your field spells that search Visa, Starfrost plus Baby have always been combo, but now we have more cards in order to make it work, and we're going to start here by activating our Visas, triggering off our Baby, which will get us our OV. The OV can then get us a search, which will get us the Misk, and then from here we can activate the Misk in order to make our dinos unaffected, go into the Lightheart, use the Lightheart's effect in order to get us into Reichphobia, activate the Reichphobia, then get ourselves the Reichheart, as we'll be able to use the Misk now, and we'll get ourselves the Jurak level 1 tuner, giving us level 5 synchro access, but we'll also have the ability to special summon out the Reichheart with 3 defense position monsters on board, including itself, so that we can get the search for the arrival plus the draw, and then we'll get ourselves the Denglong, as we'll be able to get ourselves the search for the 9 pillars, and now we can go into our cross sheep, and I do want to point out that there are a few different things that you'll be able to do from this point on. I'm also going to show a different variation of an end board that you can make at a point a little bit beyond this, but we're going to use our arrival in order to get back our Reichheart, and then from here we're going to use the Denglong in order to send the Swanee, and this will give us access into a Synchro 8. Keep in mind this can be Omega or it can be Borreload Savage Dragon, depends on what you want to go into and what you want to play, as we do have the Lightheart in the graveyard, and from here we'll trigger off the Denglong in order to get us the Jiaotu, and then from here we can go into our Vicious, as that will trigger the Cross Sheep, and then from there we can get our Swanee back. Now this is the point where my next replay will start, as you don't have to do what I'm going to do here, as we're just going to go straight into the Appaloosa, then set the 9 pillars, we'll pass on that. Now the difference with this end board and the previous one that you can do is that instead of going into your Appaloosa, if you want an Omni Negate, you can actually use the Jiaotu and the Vicious in order to go into your Baron, then keep the Swanee for your 9 pillars of the Yang Zing, and then you can also have either a second Omni Negate or a Hand Rip with the Omega. Now I want to show another iteration of this combo, as this one is just going to take an entirely different approach, I'd like to say, as we're going to get ourselves the Baby and then use the Visas in order to pop the Baby and trigger the Baby, and then from here we'll be able to get into another copy of OV, as we'll then be able to use the OV, get our search for the Misk, as we'll be able to activate the Misk, and now from here we'll start going into our Scareclaw plays, as we'll go into our Lightheart, use the Lightheart to get the Reichphobia, then activate the Reichphobia, get ourselves the Reichheart. From here we can then use the Misk, get ourselves the Jurak level 1, as we'll then be able to special summon out the Reichheart so that we can get the draw plus the search, as we'll then get ourselves the arrival, and from here we'll then go into our Denglong, use the Denglong in order to get ourselves the 9 pillars. From here we can go into the Cross Sheep, activate the arrival, which will get back the Visas this time around. We'll then be able to bring back the Lightheart, and then from here we're going to go into our Vicious, as we'll then be able to get back the OV, and I would like to keep in mind that you didn't even have to special summon back your Visas if you wanted to just bring back the Reichheart and save the extra step of bringing out the Lightheart, but I did want to show what happened if you went that way. So we're going to go into our Apo now, as we can then go into a Chao Feng as well, and this is if you want to lock out your opponent out of light monsters, so stuff like Drytron or Teller Knights can be really weak to this, as we'll then be able to trigger the Denglong, get ourselves the Swanee, as we can then set the 9 pillars, and that will give us our end board. Now for this next combo we have the Obsession plus the Baby, and this one is a pretty big combo, as you're able to just get your Baby into another Baby, and then from here you're also able to get the field spell, leaving you at a similar situation to where we were before, except that we'll have an extra dino in name with the second Baby. So from here we're then going to activate our Visas, use the Baby to get our OV, and then from here we can activate the OV in order to get us our Misk, and then from here we can activate the Misk, as we'll then be able to go into our Scareclaw plays, use the Lightheart in order to get our Reichphobia, activate the Reichphobia will get us the Reichheart. From here we can then use the Misk in order to get ourselves the second copy of Baby, or the third copy of Baby actually, as we'll then use the OV in order to pop the Baby and bring back the Baby in the graveyard, use the Baby in the graveyard in order to bring out the Jurak, and then from here we can special summon summon out the Rykart, as we'll then be able to get ourselves the Arrival plus the draw, go into our Cross Sheep, go into Denglong, use the Denglong to get ourselves the 9 pillars, and then from here we can activate the Arrival to get back the Visos, then use the Lightheart in our graveyard to bring that back, as we're then going to go into our Omega or our Savage Dragon, whichever one you want to go into. Keep in mind that if you do go into Savage Dragon, you would have to keep the Lightheart in the graveyard though. So from here we'll then be able to get our Vicious, use the effect of the Cross Sheep, which triggers off the Vicious summon to the zone that it points to get back the OV, go into our Appaloosa, and then make the Chow Fang, as we can then also trigger the Denglong in our graveyard, bring out a Yang Zing, as we'll then be able to set the 9 pillars of the Yang Zing, rounding out our end board for our next combo. And I'm going to start with the 3 card combos pretty early because I feel like that's where a lot of it is at. And we're going to start here with the Ground Xeno along with the Heart and the Meek, as we'll pop the Meek off of the Ground Xeno, use the Meteoros, which triggers off the pop of the Meek, and then from here we can get ourselves the Meek on board, as we'll normal summon the Heart. From here we'll get ourselves the Obsession, and now we can use our level 6 tuner along with the Heart in order to go into a Baron as our 4th summon, allowing us to activate the Obsession, popping the Meek, and getting ourselves the Mannadium field spell, and this will also allow us to get a pop for the Visos that we search off of the Mannadium field spell. So from here we'll get ourselves the Visos, pop the Meek, as we'll then be able to bring back the Meek off of the field spell. We don't have any more copies in deck, so we won't be able to get the second body, but that really doesn't matter, as we're just going to go into our Lightheart, activate our Reichphobia. From here we can then use the Reichphobia to get our Rykart. We have 3 defense position monsters now with the Rykart, so we'll get ourselves the Search and the Draw, and then from here we'll go into our Cross Sheep, activate the Arrival, and then from here there's a couple of different things that you can do, as you can bring back your Lightheart now, and then you can either go into your Chengying or you can go into another level 10 synchro of your choice, but we'll then go into our Vicious. We'll then be able to bring back the Meek off of the Cross Sheep that we summoned the Vicious in order to trigger it, but then from there we'll go into our Ice Jade level 10, and then from here we can actually use the Obsession. Keep in mind this part is only doable if you happen to have a Visa Starfrost or a monster with 1500 attack and 2100 defense in your hand, but this will allow us to get the extra body to allow us to go into Appaloosa. For our next combo, we'll have our 3 Searchers, and there is no real way to play around Droll on this one, so we're just going to get ourselves the Baby, activate the Ground Xeno. From here we'll be able to pop the Baby and then trigger off the Meteoros along with the Baby, as from here we'll then be able to get another copy of Baby, and then from here we can activate the Mannadium field spell to get ourselves the Visos, as we'll use the Visos in order to pop the Baby, and now we can go into our OV off of the Baby, and the Baby will be able to get us a Search, as we'll get the Search off the OV, and then from here we can get ourselves the Misk. From here we'll use the Misk, and then we can go into our Scareclaw plays, as we already have our dinos unaffected, so we don't have to really worry about Nib with them, and then we can go into our Baron later. But we're then going to get ourselves the Rykart, special summon out the Rykart. We'll also be able to get a Search and a Draw here, and then from here we can go into our Baron, use the Misk now in order to bring out a Baby, as we're then going to use the OV on board in order to pop the Baby and then bring back the level 6 Tuner Dino, as we're then going to get the special summon off of Baby for the Jurak, and then from here we can go into our Denglong, use the Denglong effect in order to get ourselves the 9 pillars, and then from here we can activate the Arrival to get back the Rykart, as this will give us access into another level 10 synchro. Then we can go into the Cross Sheep, as the Denglong will trigger, bringing out the Swanee, and then from here we can go into our Vicious, trigger the Cross Sheep, which will allow us to bring back the Jurak, and then from here we can go into our Appaloosa, set the 9 pillars, and this will round out our end board. Now for this next one, and I want to feature Baby with the Destroy cards, and we're going to start with Ground Xeno, and this is a better way to play around Droll, because you don't want to waste up your normal summon, and you also don't want to leave yourself with just one body, as the OV wouldn't be able to search, and this particular route allows us to trigger the Xeno Meteoros in order to get the 2 special summons off the Xeno and the Baby. So from here we'll get the Baby off the Baby, and then from here we can activate the Obsession, and now we'll get ourselves the Mannadium field spell, as we'll be able to trigger the Baby in order to get ourselves our Petite this time around, as we're going to activate the Mannadium field spell to get us the Visos, and now we're going to use the Visos, pop the Petite, which will be able to trigger the Petite, and then from here we'll bring out the OV finally, as we'll use the OV in order to get ourselves the Misk, and now we can activate the Misk, and from here we can go into our Scareclaw plays, or we can use the effect of the Mist first, and then from here we'll get ourselves the baby, as we'll then go into our Scareclaw plays now. We'll get ourselves the Reich Phobia, as we'll then be able to activate the Reich Phobia, get ourselves the Reich Heart, and then from here we'll be able to special summon out the Reich Heart, as we're going to get the search for the arrival along with a draw, and then from there we'll go into the Cross Sheep, use the effect of the Ovi to pop the baby, bring back a baby, as we'll be able to trigger the baby to get ourselves the Jurak, and then from here we can go into our Baron, use the arrival in order to bring back the Visas. We'll then use the Lightheart effect in our graveyard, as we'll be able to go into the Omega now. We do have to go into Omega this one because we have to unclog our board, as we're now going to rip a card from our opponent's hand, use the 2 monsters in our graveyard to go into Vicious, and then we can trigger the Cross Sheep in order to bring back the Ovi, go into our Appaloosa, go into our Denglong. From here we can get the Denglong search for the 9 pillars, as we'll be able to set the 9 pillars and end on that. Now I'm going to get onto the test hands, and I'm going to show a pair of weaker hands because I do want to be realistic with the deck. Not everything is sunshine, even though you can do so much with so little. So I would like to point out that you are playing a lot of different engines, and as you'll see, we also do have a fair amount of going second cards that we are also able to play, but it also means that seeing your engines in a weird combination, like maybe some of your Dino stuff with the Yang Zing stuff, may not be the greatest. But in this particular hand, we have the Visas, and the Visas is just able to turn your Yang Zings into kind of like Tengu, and then from here we'll be able to go into our Lightheart, as we'll be able to get the search for the Reich Phobia, and then from here we basically have combo because we're able to get into another extender through the Reich Heart, and then we're also able to get another draw, and we'll get ourselves the Ground Xeno, which is just another big draw, as we're able to use the arrival now, getting back the Reich Heart, and then from here we'll go into our Denglong. The Denglong will trigger, allowing us to get ourselves the 9 pillars. From here we can go into our Vicious. The Vicious will then trigger the Cross Sheep, which will allow us to bring back the Beyond, and then from here we can go into our Savage, as we'll be able to trigger the Denglong and use the Savage in order to chain block that, and from here we can get ourselves the Jiaotu, as we'll then be able to activate the Ground Xeno now, get ourselves the Xeno Meteoros. We'll pop the Fenrir because it's the card that we probably won't need, as we'll then be able to use the effect of the Xeno because we pop the Fenrir, and then we can go into our Appaloosa from here, giving us the Fenrir interruption. We also have the effect Veiler, we have the 9 pillars with the Jiaotu, and we have the 3 monster negations from Appaloosa with the Omni Negate off of Savage. So with all of the combos out of the way, we can finally get onto the deck profile, and some of the noticeable things that you'll see is that we're not on some of the big Dino cards here like Tyranno, Arco, and Double Evo Pill, and it's just because I didn't want to add extra bricks to the deck. I felt like when you're playing so many Yang Zings, which are kind of bricks in themselves, if you don't happen to have your Visas, I just wanted a smoother approach to building this deck. But with that being said, there are a lot of weird combinations that this deck can get because you do play a lot of going second cards here, but you also have the unfortunate downside of just seeing your engine parts that don't really do too well together. Something that I would also like to point out is that the Fenrir plus the Kashtira Field spell could also be easily replaced. They're here to give you extra going second options, but they're definitely flex spots. I do like the ability to search as much as you can in this deck though. As you see, we have 12 search cards right here, and then we have a 13th with Rhoda. Technically 3 more with Abscission, and then you just have your standard search stuff with the hearts along with the Ovi and stuff like that. As for the extra deck, a lot of it is like a Mannadium extra deck. You really don't need to change it too much, as you are really doing Mannadium plays for the most part with some Dino stuff mixed in. You'll see that I'm only on 1 rank 4 because we aren't playing the Giant Rex either. I didn't want to focus this deck too much on the Dino side of it when you consider that we only have 3 of the baby, 1 of the petite, and it is a 60 card deck, so I wanted to do my best to keep the deck as consistent as possible. Then you'll see that we have the Chao Feng here in the side deck. This is something that you can play, you don't need to. I like the ability to have the 3 level 10 synchros, which is why I don't currently have it in the extra deck. This is something else that you could actually go into with your Meek along with the Vicious, as they are both fairy monsters, so that is important to point out. The blank card here is Chaos Angel, and I wouldn't really recommend it in this deck because you don't always have your access into light and darks because of the dino stuff. Sometimes you are popping off with just the dino stuff and it's not an option you'll have, so that's why you don't see it in this version of the deck. But with all of that out of the way, I'm just gonna get onto the card by card, as I feel I featured everything I needed to on the replays. So we have the 3 Vicious, we have the 1 Ovi, the Misk, the Petite, the 3 Baby, the 3 Meek, the 1 Reich Phobia, the 1 Kashtira Field Spell Terraforming, the 3 Mannadium Field Spell, 3 Fossil Dig, 3 Ground Xeno, the 2 Xeno Meteoros, the 1 Pank, the 3 Obsession, the 2 Riam Heart, the 1 Reich Heart, the 1 Rhoda, the 9 Pillars, the Arrival. Then we have the Yang Zing lineup with the Chiwen, the Jiaotu, the Beyond, the Swanee, and then we have the 3 Fenrir, we have the 3 Talents, the 3 Ash Blossom, the 3 Ghost Bells, the 3 Imperms, the 3 Veilers, and then we have the Jurak along with the Searchable Dogoron to round out our main deck. Onto the extra deck, we have the Dweller, we have the Hope, the Herald of the Arclight, which can be made off of Meek along with a Baby or Petite. Then we have the Denglong, we also have the Stardust Charge Warrior, we have the Omega, the Savage Dragon, the Ice Jade level 10, Peng Ying, Baron, the 2 Vicious, Lightheart, Cross Sheep, and Appaloosa to round out our deck profile. Anyways, if you made it this far into the video, I thank you so much for watching and I hope you enjoyed. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave them down below. It's Bones, signing out.